what are we talking about today? These are some of the basic commands and connectors. If you could put these 4 to memory and start practicing those, I think you could really do some damage in a positive way and getting back more relevant results. So just starting at the top, we've got the and connector. And that is if you want the 2 terms that you're looking for to appear in the same document somewhere. So in this case, we have to find documents that talk about a dog and also a cat, but it could be dog in the first sentence, cat in the last. It just means they're going to appear in that document somewhere together. Then the second connector we have is the or connector. That's good for synonyms. So you could have either of these terms. Any of them would be acceptable for you. So in this case, we have an example of dog or canine, but I also just encourage you to think about the way a judge, if you're looking for cases, would be talking about your key term in the opinion. So don't necessarily pigeonhole yourself. Say you have a fact pattern and there's a car involved. And so you're thinking about it as it's a car accident, there's, car damage, but you could be looking for opinions where the judge never mentions car one time. Maybe they're calling a car an automobile exclusively, or maybe it's a truck, but the same law would apply. So just be careful and think about how could this term also be mentioned, and then use that with that or connector, and we'll practice that in just a second. The third one down is the / number, and this number could be any number you can think of. And what that's going to do is that's going to ensure that your terms are mentioned within that many terms of each other. So in this case, we have dog with intent of bite as the example. That's going to make sure that they're not just in the document somewhere, but they're closely related. You're bringing them back together. You're tying their proximity a little bit closer. So within 10 terms of each other. You may notice here we've got either just the / number or the W / number. They will both work exactly the same. It's just a personal preference. So if it helps you to remember that / number stands for within, you could use that W / number. And this is also going to find those terms in any order around each other. So we could have dog bite, or we could have bite dog. And so that's another thing to keep in mind is, does the order of your terms affect the meaning? And we'll talk about that again in just a second as well. Then the final kind of just basic connector, but it can be really powerful, is the and not connector. And so this is really good as kind of like a second look at your research. You can't always know that you have to use this one the first time you put in some results, but it's really great when you do an initial search and you realize that there are kind of multiple lanes of your research going, and one of them is totally not on point with you. And you want to get that out of there so that you can really focus on the lane that is on point for you. So an example of this, I was helping a student do some research on the constitutionality of genetic editing or engineering. And we were doing some searches and we were getting back a whole bunch of results that were talking about the patents involved. So the intellectual property related to this genetic editing or engineering, and that's not what she was concerned about. And so we were able to do our normal search and at the end add and not patent, and then we got any of those intellectual property related articles out so that she could focus on what she was looking for, which was the constitutionality of it. You do have to be careful because you're never going to see those results. They're gone forever if they even mention that term one time, but there are going to be times where that can be really helpful in helping you focus. And we'll look at that in just a second as well. So now to put some of this into practice, a little bit unorthodox, but I'm going to build a peanut butter and jelly sandwich just using our terms and connectors. And so what I ask myself whenever I'm doing any search is, what's the first thing that I have to have in this equation? And so for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that's going to be bread. Then I kind of ask myself, okay, is any type of bread okay? Or do I really not want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on rye bread? So really, I just want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on whole wheat or white bread. So I get those terms in there. I'm going to connect those with an or, because I'd be fine with whole wheat bread or white bread. And then I'm also going to, it's kind of a good idea, have a back pocket, and those are parentheses. So parentheses work the same way as they do in a math equation, which I hate, but it creates priority. So it tells the system to run these together and first, so that you know that you aren't getting things messed up. So the system isn't looking for whole wheat, and then or white bread, and we'll look at this in a more concrete example in just a second as well. But just remember, those parentheses can help you create the priority so that you can tell the system exactly how you want that search to run. So now I want whole wheat or white, but I want my whole wheat and white to be closely related to my bread because I want that to be speaking about the same thing. And so I'm going to use that /5 connector. So again, remember, terms could be either side, but I'm hoping it's going to pull back whole wheat bread or bread of the whole wheat variety, you know, some sort of, they're closely related. Now, what's the next thing that I need on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I put the peanut butter on next. You know, might put jelly on next. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to say peanut butter. So I'm going to add the term peanut butter, and I'm going to connect those two with an and. Okay, so then I'm going to also ask myself, what about the type of peanut butter? And this is where I'm going to encourage you to not narrow down unnecessarily. So there's crunchy peanut butter, there's smooth, creamy peanut butter, there's Jif, there's Skippy, there's organic, there's like, I don't care. I just want peanut butter. So if you really don't care, don't add any of those additional kind of adjectives or unnecessary terms to your equation because you're going to be narrowing it, again, unnecessarily. So for my situation, I'm going to say, I just want peanut butter. I don't care what kind. So I'm not going to do like I did with the bread where I limited it somehow. So we want peanut butter. Next thing I want some jelly on my sandwich. But I have to also, remember, think, maybe depending on the area of the country or, you know, just your upbringing, they may not call what I call jelly jelly. Maybe they call it jam. Maybe they call it marmalade. Maybe they call it spread or preserves. You know, we might have a variety of different additional terms that we would want to account for. In this case, I'm just going to do jelly or jam because I want to find both of those. But it's just a good practice to get into thinking, like, don't get pigeonholed into this is what I call this thing. Like, think about what could other people call this as well. Now, in this case, I do want to be specific about my jelly or my jam. I don't want orange. I don't want apple. I don't know what other types there are. I don't like really the super seedy ones. So I'm going to say, let's just do strawberry or grape or raspberry. And then I can put the or between all of those. And you could, again, have as many synonyms as you could think of. But I'm going to also, again, put that priority creator around that just so that I know that the system's running all of these synonyms together and not mixing up my commands with the other parts of my sandwich. And then, again, I'm going to do that within the 5, or I could do within 2, or I could do within 3, whatever number I wanted to, but just to closely relate those back together. So my sandwich is looking pretty good. I've got whole wheat or white bread. I've got peanut butter, any kind, because I don't really care. And I've got either strawberry jelly or jam, or grape jelly or jam, or raspberry jelly or jam. Now, let's say that when I'm looking through these results or these different recipes that I'm getting back, I'm finding that some people put banana on their peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that sounds disgusting to me. So I want to get all those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that talk about banana out of my result set. This is where we use that and not command. So I'm going to add in banana, but I'm going to say and not banana. You have to be careful. You want your and not to be at the end of your equation because it's going to eliminate results that mention any of the terms that follow that. So it really truly has to be the very last thing you do. And then this should get any of those peanut butter, jelly, and banana sandwiches out. So I should just have left peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on their own. I hope that makes sense. And again, we'll look at that in a little bit of a more concrete example in just a second. So those were some of just those 4 basic commands and connectors, the and, the or, the / number, and then the and not. Just keep that in your back pocket. Also keep the parens in your back pocket. But then we also have some kind of more advanced ones. And actually, these are some of my favorite as well. So the first one that we have here up at the top is the /s. That is going to find your terms within the same sentence, approximately. It actually does it within 25 words. But again, it's good for creating that proximity. You want them closely related, but they don't have to be like this close. And so again, we have the example of dog within the same sentence of bite. You could also do that if it was like, oh, I feel like this is a little bit close. You could bring it out a little bit with the /p. So find your terms within the same paragraph or roughly within 75 words. So back to my genetic engineering example, I think we were doing constitutionality within the same paragraph. So same discussion of genetic editing or engineering. Like I didn't think that maybe every time it showed up that was going to be relevant, it would be in the same sentence, but I thought it would at least be in the same paragraph, and that would be enough for us to ensure that it was talking about what I wanted it to talk about. Now, this third one, this pre/number, is going to ensure that your first term precedes the second term by whatever number you choose or less. So this is important, again, when we talked about the order of the terms could change the meaning. And I have yet to find a good example, but I know it exists, where depending on if a word comes before the other word or after the other word, it's going to mean something completely different. And so using that dog pre/3 bite ensures that we are getting back situations where a dog has bit someone versus someone biting a dog. I guess, that could be a kind of an example there. So that might be, again, something you keep in your back pocket. Maybe on the second run through, instead of the /number, you change that to a pre to again, secure the order of the terms. Fourth one here, quotes. So you can put terms in quotes if you want that exact phrase to appear. You notice I didn't use it with whole wheat and I didn't use it with peanut butter because the system will recognize multiple words as phrases if they're a recognizable phrase like whole wheat or peanut butter. But if it's not a phrase and you do want to make sure the system runs it together, or you're just not sure if the system would recognize it that way or not, you can use quotes. You do have to be careful because it's going to look exact for those exact letters that appear within the quote. So it's not going to automatically add any plurals or any possessives or anything like that. You're just strictly getting what's within those quotation marks. So again, just be careful. Then finally, the at least command. So this is good, again, on kind of a second review of your results. If you're finding that one of your required terms is appearing at least one time in all of your result set, because it would have to, or else it wouldn't be doing its job, but it's not appearing enough times to be a good, descriptive discussion about your term. And that's what you're really looking for. You can use this at least command. And so in this example here, they had Obama appearing at least 5 times. So I could do this at least 5 Obama, and then that ensures that the results that I get back are mentioning my key term at least 5 times. I find for case law that 5 is actually a really good number to ensure that you're getting a good discussion of your term in the opinion. Any more than that, you just kind of have to think, would it be really obsessive for the judge to be saying my term this many times? In case law, I feel like it's best to kind of err on the side of a little bit less. But if you're looking for a law review article, they tend to be a little bit more verbose, like they're going on and on and on about a specific thing. So you may be able to amp up that number a little bit to maybe at least 10 times or at least 15 times. How am I doing on time? Okay. So in my last couple minutes, I wanted to take you live on the system and kind of show you something, not that one, real quick. So if you forget these terms and connectors, you've got my handout, I hope that I put in the chat. If you joined and didn't receive it, I'll put it there again in a second. But if you need a quick reminder, also under the search box is this advanced search link to open up kind of a cheat sheet of our terms and connectors over on the right. You see top 5, but all of the same ones that we talked about today. And then you could also view all of the connectors and commands that the system recognizes. But I just wanted to show you one thing before I leave you. If you have any questions about the way the system has run your search, so you're starting to play around with this and you're like, this is what I thought it was going to do, and I'm not exactly sure if it's that's what it did. I have a search here. So let's say I was looking for 2 kind of lanes. I wanted either documents mentioning restorative justice or mentioning community within 2 of policing. So I wanted to look for community policing, but I wasn't necessarily, I just wanted closely related. So I have crafted a search here, restorative justice or community within 2 of policing. I'm going to do that search and I'm going to show you there's some kind of, I don't know about red flags, but at least some kind of cues to me initially that the system may not have run it the way I had it in my brain. So the first thing is it's putting, I wanted 2 lanes, restorative justice or community within 2 of policing. But I see right away that the color coding is coloring restorative justice and community the same color as if they were synonyms. as if it's doing restorative justice or community, and then all of that within two of policing, which is not what I wanted. And so just again, to double check that, I can use this little search tree or data tree icon to open it up, and it's going to show me the way the system ran this search. And so I can see here, we've got all of my terms up across the top. I'll try and make this a little bit larger for you. And then I can see the way it goes down with the kind of different lanes is it's going to show me the first connector that it read, and it was actually the or. So it read restorative justice or community, and then either of those within two of policing, which is not what I wanted to do. And so you can see here, I got back 2,390 results in cases. Well, let's just see. I'm going to manipulate this search to tell the system that's not what I wanted. This is actually what I wanted. So I'm going to use the parens to create the priority around the community within two of policing. So now I've ensured I'm getting restorative justice or community within two of policing. I go from 2390 to 2764. But in addition to being a little bit more, those results would also possibly be different and could make a huge difference. So again, look at the colors. If it's grouping stuff in the same color together that you're like, no, that's not what I wanted it to do, open up this search tree, double check and see how it ran it. And then remember, you always have those parens in your back pocket to create that priority around those different equations as you want the system to run it.